Hey there, ITN 352ers. Welcome to another edition of Practice WOD Solution. This time we're going to do a solution for the day of the week number 1. That's implementing the day of the week algorithm that we saw in class. So to get started, of course, we want to do the usual. Bring up your NetBeans and you can start your timer and start a new project, and let's just call this day of week 1. Make sure we've got XAMPP running, which you do, and bring up our test site. Oh, we have to remember that you want to change your browser to be the connected version so that we can instantaneously see the updates when we save. Okay, so we've got the debugging connector enabled. All right, in this case, what we want to do is look carefully at the instructions. So we have a bunch of steps here for implementing the algorithm. I think you're already familiar with it. And it says that we're not going to worry about leap years, so we won't. And we need to set variables for the day, the month as a string, the integer for a year. And just handle step 4 and 8. It says copy the following code into your program. So, if it says copy the following code in your program, it's probably a good idea to start with that. So we'll just copy that into here. I'll just say, handle conversions there, because that's what those things do. If you read the instructions, it talks about those are converters. And don't worry about what these are. These are just arrays, and we'll talk about them later. But for now, it's a convenient way for us to convert a string like January into the number 1, which is the key number. And we can also take a number like a day of the week number and convert it into a string like Tuesday. And there's an example of how to do that. It says $month2 key square bracket quote May returns the value 2. So in other words, this expression here will become the value 2. And so I guess the strategy here is whenever I need to use the month string, which I guess is in step 4, I'll use this and it'll convert it to the key number. And then in step 8, I'll do num today and figure out whatever number I'm supposed to put in there, and it'll give me the string, which is going to be the day of the week that I want. Okay, so let's just keep this handy because we're going to need this. Make this a little bigger here. Okay, oops. I can't seem to make my image a little bit bigger. Text is getting bigger, but the image is staying the same. That's not very helpful. So let's make this just a little larger like that. There we go. Okay. Good enough. I'll just come back and forth. So step 1 is choose the last 2 digits of your birth year. So I'm just going to follow the steps here. Now, what I'm implementing, I'm going to implement here. I need to start out with it says use variables for day, month, and year. So I'll start out by putting those in here. I don't really need a comment for this because if I use the variable names day, it's pretty obviously that's what that is. So here's my day 14, and notice it's a day of my birth is a number, so I wouldn't put quotes here, okay, because it's not a string, it's actually a number. Day, month. Now, month is a string, so I'll use quotes there. And I was born in May, and then year again is going to be an integer, and I'm going to use the full birth year, 1966. Okay. Now I know that what we're going to do is have to get the last 2 digits of this, but let's not worry about that now. But it does say that the algorithm has to be that the year must be between 1900 and 2000. Okay, the algorithm doesn't work for anything beyond that, and we're not going to worry about leap years. So let's save that. Notice that there's no errors there. Good. Okay, so now that I got that, we're just going to go with step 1. Now, step one is choose the last 2 digits of your birth year. For example, if you're born in 1989, choose 89. So let's say we'll get last 2 digits of year, right? So how am I going to do that? So step 1, I'm going to just call that step 1 because I'll need that later. Well, to get the 66 out of this, I see that this is the same thing as 1900 or 1900 plus the last 2 digits, 66. And as long as I'm between 1900 and 2000, all I need to do is subtract off 1900, and that's going to give me the last 2 digits. So year minus 1900 is going to give me the last 2 digits. I think you can see that. Okay, great. So now we are on to step 2. So step 2 is divide that number by 4, keep the quotient, and forget the remainder. Well, we know how to do that. That's the same thing as we did in the making change. So we can just say step 1 divided by 4, and if we want to keep just the remainder, the quotient, I mean, we want to get rid of the remainder, all we need to do is take the integer part, convert this thing to an integer, and it'll dump that. Now, before I go on, I'm going to make this a little test thing here just to make sure that I'm printing out that I'm getting things right. So it says 16. If I look at step 1, that better be 66. There it is. Okay, so far so good. All right. Now let's look at step 3 now. Step 3, add the number formed by the last 2 digits, right, which is step 1, to the birth year, to the birth year of your quotient. Okay, so that's going to be step 3 is equal to step 1, right? That's my birth year, last 2 digits, to the quotient plus step 2. Okay, and let's print out step 3, saving that. Got 82. I don't know if that's right, but at least it wasn't anything weird. Okay, now step 4, I'm going to use my little converter. So on step 4 for my little converter, step 4, I'm going to take month to key. So $month to key, and what I want to change is I want to change the month here, which is May, into the key. In this case, it should be number 2. So I'm just going to take the variable month and stick it in there. So you see, I can stick the variable in here because this is actually going to be the value, quote, string May, and then that's going to convert it into the number 2. Again, don't worry about how that works. That's just the way it is with arrays. We'll look into that more later. Let's see if that should give me number 2. And sure enough, May is number 2. Okay, so far so good. On to step 5. Step 5 is add the key number of your month to the sum found in 3. So the key number, which is found in 4, to the sum found in 3. So basically step 4 plus step 3. Okay, so step 5 is step 4 plus $step 3. Okay, and let's see if step 5 gives us something reasonable, 84. Again, I'm not quite sure if that's right, but at least it looks reasonable. Okay, step 6 is add the date of your birth. Okay, that's the day, to the sum in 5. Okay. It says if you're born in 2000, add 600 more. Okay, we're not going to worry about that. And so we're just going to say our day plus step 5. So $step 6 equals $day plus $step 5. And let's check that out. Saving that. 98. Okay, that looks good. On to step 7. Step 7, divide the sum in step 6 by 7 and keep only the remainder. Okay, so now this time we want the opposite. We don't want the integer part, we want the remainder part, so we're going to use the modulus operator. So step 7 equals $step 6 percent 7. So what this does is this says divide it by 7 and keep only the remainder. So this is going to be a number between 0 and 6, which is exactly what we need to convert it to the date. Okay, so let's see if that works. Step 7, and I get 0. Okay, and that's going to be a Saturday according to this. And so now step 8 equals, now I'm going to use my num today, and I'm just going to get that number, which whatever that is, and that's going to be my day of the week. And now I'm going to say printf quote, let's see, this month, this day, let's say this month, which is a string. Let's see, this month with this day, which is an integer, this year was a string, which is a day of the week. So I'm going to say month, $day, $year with step 8. Okay, so let's see if that works. It says May 14th, I'm going to say I'll make May 14th space 1966 was a Saturday. And that's true. I was born on a Saturday, contrary to what my mother thought. And let's see, where is my stopwatch? I'll stop that. And we're done in about 12 minutes and nicely under the par, which is 15 minutes. So I hope that worked for you. And again, don't worry about the arrays. I hope that it's just steps and that you should see that this is a general solution. The general solution meaning that I didn't use it for a particular number. I can just put any value here, any day, any month, and any year between 1900 and 2000. Other than leap years, this should give me the day of the week. Okay, see you in class.